everybody. We'll go ahead and give everyone just a few minutes to get in and get settled. All right, well, my name is Liz Simpson. I am a senior solution consultant with IntelliBoard, and I am delighted to be here celebrating data and collaboration with the North Carolina Community College System. We're also joined by Steph Bajos. She is your account manager, and the fabulous Amy Price, who is our VP of product at IntelliBoard. So today we're going to spotlight real stories from across the NCCCS, how connected analytics are improving compliance, retention, and decision-making. And each panelist that we are so glad to have with us today gives us a unique project and perspective, but together they're part of a shared story of how data can drive equity and success across the system. I'm going to take a moment here and allow the panelists to introduce themselves. So everybody, if you could please share your name and your role at your college. And Marissa, if you are ready, we'll start with you, my friend.
Hi, I'm Marissa Sullivan. I am the Director of Instructional Technologies at Durham Tech. We serve both Durham and Orange County with about annually 18,000 students.
Thanks, Marissa. Brian, you're up next, sir.
Thank you. My name's Brian Hutchins. I'm the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence here at Forsyth Tech. IntelliBoard has really helped us with our attendance and going into other situations. Glad to meet y'all.
Thank you, Brian. And Malin's team.
So, I'm Keegan Anderson. I serve as Vice President of Instruction, the Chief Academic Officer here at the college.
And I'm John Wilmisher. I'm the Dean of Learning Resources Center and Distance Education. Been using IntelliBoard for several years now.
Thank you, guys. And Clark.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Clark Burleson, and I am the Coordinator of Technology Enhanced Learning here at Isothermal Community College.
Thank you. And Athena, go ahead, friend.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Athena Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Technology and Innovation, formerly of distance learning. So got a lot of experience both with distance learning and IntelliBoard. I'm excited to share that with you guys this afternoon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we do have another logo up here, Haywood Community College. It got called away. We'll grab Cheryl and Jessica another time. They're doing amazing work there. So stay tuned for more stuff coming from us. So for a little bit about what we do at IntelliBoard, we are a learning analytics platform. So what we do is we transform your learning data to drive action. So at kind of its most basic level, we work with your existing academic technology to give you deep understanding and reveal critical insights so you all can do your work better, easier, cleaner, more efficiently. We're also basically LMS agnostic. So Open LMS, Canvas, Learning Pool, Blackboard, D2L, all the platforms supported by the system. And we actually have everybody but D2L represented on the panel today. And we'll grab you guys another time. We absolutely love you too. So for a little bit of context for the group, your learning management system, your LMS, is what we call your primary connection. Anything else is looked at through the eyes of teaching and learning occurring in your teaching and learning environment. What we do is we use what is happening there to populate dashboards and reports that your people can utilize. And as much as we can, we leverage your individual setup. So what that means is if I'm an arts and sciences dean, I can see across all of the programs that I'm responsible for and not inside my colleagues at Allied Health, my instructors, my students, my courses. If I'm a chair, I can see what I'm responsible for, those instructors, those courses. Instructors see themselves in the courses they are teaching and their students. High-level admins see everything across your institution, and advisors, coaches, liaisons, people assigned a caseload of students see that caseload wherever they are across your environment. And we are built for education and by educators. It gives us really deep insight into what people need in general, and then we personalize what we have as a default based off of your specific needs and your individual setup. And we are delighted to be your partners and joining you all together, building a community of practitioners around retention and student success, so that everyone at your institution across the state has the pieces of information they need to support our students and our communities. And we are so excited to support in any way that we can. So this webinar is by and for the NCCCS, but for any guests in the room, the North Carolina Community College system is really particularly noteworthy for its scale. The system itself encompasses 58 colleges statewide and one shared commitment to student success. Fast facts, in the 24-25 academic year, so last year, there were almost 632,000 students, employ more than 36,000 faculty and staff, supporting 320,000 jobs, and contributing $19.3 billion annually to North Carolina's economy. And friends, that's from your own website. That is something to celebrate. IntelliBoard is one of the system level tools provided for the system by a statewide contract, which encompasses licenses, implementation, support, and SFTP hosting access. The goal is collaboration across the system for a stronger and more connected system. And we are here together today to celebrate and explore the system-wide projects around equity, retention, and operational access. So let's start with one of the most foundational areas where analytics can make a difference: compliance. We've got two stories to share, one from Clark at Isothermal and the other from Athena at Catawba Valley. We often see that when compliance data and advising data live in the same ecosystem, the story shifts from checking boxes to supporting students proactively. That's what we all need. So one of the critical data points for anyone thinking about higher education in the States is the data first attendance. And this is critical for both of these stories. Getting this correct and accurate is critical for any institution that receives Title IV funding. Whether it is advisors knowing who has not yet handed in something, people getting that date and time accurate, it's critical. So I'll give y'all a break from my voice in a minute. Let's talk about what that looks like at your colleges. So in Isothermal's case, just some quick context, they're working on transitioning from Watermark to IntelliBoard to serve as a platform for advisors. So Clark, we'll call on you, have you get us started. Could you tell us a little bit about what you guys are working on?
Absolutely. So I'll start at the beginning of this story. So we have, before this project that we're working on with the IntelliBoard team, we have been using IntelliBoard for quite a few years, and it has been a great relationship so far. But this story that I'm about to tell is where it gets really serious. So this started at the end of August, and I found out from one of our CCP team members. She called me on the phone, and she wanted to know if IntelliBoard could create, if we could use IntelliBoard to create similar reports they use in Watermark. And those two reports are the grade report and the first submission report to see who has completed their mandatory course enrollment activity. And I'm like, well, I think we can do that, but why are you asking about IntelliBoard all of a sudden instead of doing that in Watermark? And she said, well, I heard that Watermark, we will not be renewing that student success portion of it at the end of the year. And I'm like, oh, well, I had heard nothing about that. So I quickly reached out to our VP of Student Affairs, asked him, I said, are we transitioning away from that? And he said, yes. And he said, we need to have a solution to that, both the reports and alert side of it. And he said, will IntelliBoard be able to do that? And I said, well, let me get in contact with Liz and see what we can come up with. So that was the beginning of it. And remember, this happened at the end of August, and we're transitioning away at the end of the year. So it's very important work, and we've got to mobilize quickly. And everything we've done so far has happened very fast, and the IntelliBoard team has worked with me to get this ready as quick as possible. So the first thing we did to start that project off was I got with our CCP team and asked, what do the reports, the ones you use, look like inside of Watermark? So I collected a list of those fields so that we could start recreating some of those pieces in IntelliBoard. So we needed to go, I got those from the CCP team, and we also needed to go with the SFTP route, which means I would create get those pieces in Informer 5, like some of those are graduation date, their high school program of study, a lot of those the pieces that don't exist inside Moodle. So got those so we could SFTP them into Moodle. So I used Informer 5 to create a couple different reports to get those in there. And then we could set them up as jobs. So that data would be sent to IntelliBoard once a day early in the morning. So once we had that piece completed, Liz helped, she helped us start working on the CCP dashboard side of it, which is going to encompass the grade report and that first submission report into one place they can look at it. So worked on that. And we also created accounts for those CCP team members inside of IntelliBoard so they could go in and look at it. And all of that is, they can get to it from inside Moodle, which makes it a lot easier. We don't have to set it up a separate thing on our single sign-on. They can just go to Moodle to find it, which is good. So they've done some testing on that side. They've ran into some stuff, and we're working on that to try to work that out. That's going well. And once that is good, we're going to have to start working on the alert side of it. And IntelliBoard does have that feature as well. So how it's going, it's been going great. And we're looking forward to having that done quickly. And we seem to be on track.
Fabulous. Thank you, Clark.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Athena, Catawba Valley in general, you guys are great. Actually, one of the first stories we supported was streamlining census and reporting data. Very, very similar sorts of stories, even if a different audience. So Athena, could you please tell us the story of census reporting before and after rolling out the IntelliBoard dashboards?
Yeah, for sure. So our census process was, to put it nicely, a wreck. I mean, we were doing it, obviously, but it involved, printing all the scores from Blackboard and having to email that to somebody. And, it was really cumbersome and required many different steps from our faculty, also from administration. It was just very cumbersome and difficult. And so one of the first things that I came to Liz for was like, I've got to solve this problem. This is ridiculous. Because then from an educational technology perspective, which is primarily where I was at the time, we were also being inundated with emails like, hey, I'm not sure if this student entered before or after the date. Can you look for me? So then myself and my team are spending a lot of time then going on Blackboard and searching to see, did they do the thing? Did they not do the thing? And so it was a lot of work across the board. And so, like I said, I came to Liz and was like, we can solve this problem. I know we can make this a lot easier. And so we sort of started diving in, looking at the reports. I think we did it a year or so ago, and
Mhm.
we've been using it. And then our registrar got a hold of it because now she has access to all the reports. And the registrar was like, this is perfect. I don't really want anything else. And I was like, okay. So then we had conversations with the deans and CAO, and basically, this fall, we actually did it in the summer as well, but we don't do any of that anymore. We only use IntelliBoard. So our faculty can access the dashboard. We tell them, unless it's face-to-face or hybrid, it should match IntelliBoard, period. Because we want you entering your Ps exactly what IntelliBoard says, because that way too, when the registrar is reconciling that with her end of things, they match.
Yeah.
So what that means is that then when they come in and audit us, everything pretty much matches and we don't have to go back and fix a bunch of stuff. So we've done that. Now we don't do anything but IntelliBoard. It is literally, I'm gonna put this in here to have it ready. Those are our directions that we've written up. So that's the
Thank you,
entire process.
Theta.
That's our entire process for how they do the census reporting. And these directions were written, just before summer. But my philosophy is I update them as questions are asked so that they're up to date. And so these are our directions step for step for what we tell them to do. They, of course, can get into IntelliBoard directly through Blackboard, much like Clark mentioned with Moodle, which is a huge help because while it is SSO and all that good stuff, it's much easier to just tell them to click something in Blackboard and not have to go out to something else.
Yeah.
So that's just one example of how we're using it, but it's completely transformed the way that we're actually approaching this and how we're handling the census reporting. Oh, and because I mentioned this to Liz yesterday, this semester, so it used to be I was involved in like multiple emails, like back and forth, like, yes, they entered, no, they didn't enter. I don't know, I'll have to look deeper and see if they entered. This semester I have had, does anybody want to guess how many questions I've had? One. Had one question.
For how many students, Athena? Or I don't think people appreciate the scale of Catawba.
Oh yeah, so
Like that?
we have like 4,000 students. A lot of them are CCP, a lot of faculty, a lot of adjunct faculty. I mean, it's a fairly large institution. So the fact that I have somehow magically gotten Liz to wave her magic wand and take away all those questions, that means there's time for me to do other things, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the work is being done. It's just automatically.
Yeah, automatically. Amazing. Athena, could you speak to a minute about how you trained and transitioned people? Because this was a big change.
Yeah,
important and good and big.
Well, it's definitely a culture change. We've had a lot of conversations with faculty, with deans, I started out talking with the CAO, talking with the deans and making sure they understood. I actually, even though we had the faculty dashboards already rolled out, I didn't really tell them they were there yet. Not at first, but we really had a lot of conversations with the CAO, with the deans who started jumping into their dashboards and kind of seeing that information. And then we had, campus-wide faculty training where we showed the faculty how to get in there and how to do it. There's obviously questions about, what do you mean you're looking at all our stuff? Well, we were technically doing that before.
Right.
Because you had to print the stuff out and send it to us. It's just, you don't have to do that now. We're actually making it easier. So we've had a lot of conversation. One of the things I keep preaching about IntelliBoard is it's all in context. So yes, there's all this data, but that doesn't mean, you have to look at the context around it. Like there might be a lot of items that need grading, but that doesn't necessarily mean the instructor hasn't graded. Right. It just means there are maybe 3 assignments were just due and it looks like a lot. So it's all contextual and it's really important to get that through to everybody. So we've had multiple trainings, virtual, face-to-face. I've written these directions. I can't even tell you the number of page views. I mean, I could look that up, but that's, these directions are sent out constantly and updated constantly too, to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. And I'm really proud of the fact that I realized that I've only had one question. I mean, that's
Yeah,
significant.
really exciting to hear. Really exciting to hear.
Yeah. And I'm excited about it. I love it.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you guys. So in both of these stories, kind of like flagship report series for the system, truly, is the submission monitoring dashboard. The one we're seeing here is first submission monitoring. If you have any kind of system level account in IntelliBoard, you can absolutely see this in your library. This is the most commonly used data set in the state. Its job is to help everybody know where they're at. And it is really critical to a lot of different processes here. So in isothermal's case, what we're doing is we're importing some data from colleague. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But as is, it's because we're giving this to advisors in their case. As is perfect for instructors, people in academic leadership, and anybody sitting in compliance or in the registrar's office, because we can just leverage all the permissioning out of your LMS. And a key data point here, its job is to help us track the first thing handed in per student per class. The date and time they've handed in something is clean and consistent for a date of first attendance. So it matches everybody's records. And this is critical for online and blended classes, and a really good idea for anyone. We're reducing error, we're reducing burden, and getting everybody in a good position, so the advisors, the registrars, the instructors, where our students truly are and what we need to do to support people. It also lets us cleanly and consistently communicate this to the advisors, leadership, and anybody external to your college. A common need is thinking about our CCP and dual enrolled students. This is an important piece of this as well, making sure that these students know what they need to do when, and if there's a risk here, we get them fast, get them in that census door so they can stay. So a little bit of a shift. We're going to broaden our lens a little bit and explore collaboration and connection here, because we're not just using analytics to track student progress. We are strengthening an entire ecosystem of support, compliance, course engagement, advising, leadership, planning. One of the projects focuses on ensuring regular and substantive interaction between instructors and students. Other people are looking at how to make data accessible and meaningful to stakeholders across campus, faculty, deans, student services. Marissa, I'll call on you first to get us started. Could you please share for us the work you're doing to shift campus culture at Durham?
Sure thing. So just a little context, a couple pieces. We transitioned to Canvas in 2023 and quickly realized that sometimes, especially for enrollment verification, getting a clean report was a challenge. So that's why we started working with IntelliBoard to provide us a clean report. So that in itself was a cultural change at the college. We also implemented largely 8-week classes at the college. So
Yes.
a lot of big changes. And a little background about myself. I started at the college as a psychology instructor. I then was a supervisor as chair of social sciences, and then I moved over to instructional technology. So I do have a lot of perspective on typical faculty load, and especially folks that are program directors, chairs, supervisors, deans, and getting that kind of wide lens, and knowing the challenges it presents with, you know, we have all this data in the LMS. How can I look at it quickly? Because time is of the essence here.
Right.
You know, especially for some faculty who are teaching all day.
Right.
They have 200 something students. So when I was working with Liz about this report, initially we had set it up as just for enrollment verification. That was all we needed. We needed this clean thing. As things evolved, I had lots of faculty asking me for a weekly attendance report from Canvas. And so I wanted to help with that. I knew that was a need. I still teach myself. So selfishly, I was also like,
You get it. Yeah.
That would be nice if I could just plug it in real quick. And so we expanded our report. We used the learner activity completion dates and the missing learner submissions, I believe, on our instructor dashboard. We also use a conference utilization. So that allows instructors, supervisors to see who's completing things, when they're completing them. Do we have some students who are maybe avoiding their quizzes, their tests, and providing those early interventions that Liz has been mentioning. But just it's been great just to get these really nice clean reports, and always trying to customize them as we can to fit our needs. Because as we know, we all do the enrollment verification in 58 different ways, right? So, but we can all use these reports in kind of the same fashion. And it just gives, I think, this overall picture, which is nice, of how things are going. And so I can use that date filter and see who's turning things in when. Typically in online classes, you just don't have one assignment due during the week. You have several. So it's much less cumbersome than to go into the LMS, see what's been submitted, when it's been submitted. I have it all on one page. So it's been really nice for that purpose. And I can say, in working with our compliance attendance office, we used to have a lot more conversations about some exceptional cases, we'll say. I really haven't heard much, kind of like Athena, like those emails have gone down a lot. So that's been a little lift too, and for both of our departments working together on these issues. So
and what I love, I just have to jump in. What I love about what Athena, stop laughing at me. I know. But what I love about both Athena, what you said, and Marissa, what you said, is the administrative reduction of workload on not only your offices, but also instructors. And that's part of it. I mean, like the human error alone, and that we're not doing this like telephone tag of reporting communication for something as important as financial aid documentation for the student and our institutions. We're reducing the human error, but just the administrative time for your offices, but also the administrative time for instructors. How do we leverage a report to inform the practice and an automated report to inform the practice rather than hunting and pecking and finding and opening and reporting and sending? That gives instructors back time to do things like grading, right? Which then sets the forward momentum for advisors being able to check in with students. Like all of it is about making us more efficient to improve overarching learning outcomes and student persistence. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for that clarity around, that the report has an impact, but the report also has a secondary cultural impact for the day-to-day practices at your institutions.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's been very helpful too, I will say, to deans and chairs and program directors when student grievance issues come up and a student promises that they submitted something and they
It's easy to get mixed up. It just
yes.
answers a lot of questions very quickly.
It's a good starting point, yes. And Liz knows this, but I'm always calling her with a new report that we want and trying to do new things. So
And it is a
always-
delight. And so for everybody who's jealous, we're going to be talking about that attendance report in a minute, because right, Durham is special to me, but what you guys are trying to do is not unusual.
Right.
And like the reality you're facing is also not unusual.
Yeah.
So Brian, actually, I'll call on you, my friend, because you're working on some similar stuff as well.
Yeah, we've enjoying the census reporting, not only the administrative aspect of it, but I teach classes too. So I know what you're talking about when you work all day and you come on and start doing the census stuff. So that's fun. So we appreciate that very much. One of the things we've also started doing is Forsyth Tech has re-entered the world of athletics. So now we have girls volleyball, men's basketball. And so we have to have a way to keep track of what's going on with our students, especially them. We've hired an athletic director last year, and Shelley is on top of her game, but she wants to see how to help make sure her students are okay.
Yeah.
Now then, as you know, most y'all know, when do y'all usually find out a student's having issues? Whenever you get the drop slip from the registrar's office, okay? And we try to avoid that, especially with Shelley's trying to avoid it for athletes. Yeah. And we've started doing it, and what we did was got a table through IntelliBoard to do that. One thing I want to remind you is that IntelliBoard will tell the truth and nothing but the truth, okay? During the month of October, second week, I was in Bermuda, and I just got on the ship and looked at my phone, connecting. I had a frantic message saying one of my students is failing the class, and I got to looking, and it's where it's between semesters. I thought, well, how's it happening? And so I scrolled up, I sent one of our guys to check the account in Blackboard, and sure enough, the instructor had the B session class that's not started yet, had the dates set wrong, like for the last time they taught it. And so that student had an F on it. Right. So she's written, but we got that fixed up. That's just how much it will watch. Yeah. And also, if it does that to the instructor, think about what the student will do. If they log into the first day of class and it becomes visible, oh my gosh, I'm already failing the course.
I'm already failing. Right.
Yeah. So that can help prevent something like that. So we use that, with the athletes. We're also getting ready to start up with the booth students.
Yes.
And also with the rest of the advisors are working with that as well. So we can get, like I say, early knowledge that the students are having issues with it. Currently, we find out about that is we do the weekly attendance, and you put that into a thing called My Forsyth Tech, and then you raise alerts over here. But if we can use the IntelliBoard, we're going to get it set up. We'll get a weekly report sent to the advisors on Monday to say, hey, these students right here are having issues. So they can be more proactive in getting it. And that's going to really help out our students. I'll turn back over to you, Liz.
Oh, no, that's perfect, Brian. I think it's one of those classic, everybody's telling the truth. Something, right? That Shelley was right to be a little bit concerned. The class hasn't started yet, and the LMS is saying the student is failing because she per the math, she was, right? And and nothing is actually wrong. This is a point for us to step in, fix a broken thing, and have a training moment here. In the real world, this is what this means, right? This student, is she failing? Technically, yes. Technically, no. We've got a problem with the due dates, which is blessedly a very easy fix. And good on everyone for noticing it and jumping in before there's a problem.
And I said, that goes back with talk with the instructor and
Yeah.
giving them a training moment.
Yeah.
And that will help too.
Yeah. I jumped on with the LMS admin and like, I bet you there's an easy answer to this. And there was, right? there was. May we all have 15-minute fixes for all of our problems and a one email solution, right? So Keegan, John, you guys at Malin working on a lot of deeper engagement projects, especially around Leon's Law. Could you share a little bit for the group about what you're working on and why?
Yeah, I was just tell
You
you.
wanna start?
Oh, go ahead if you want to.
Oh, no, that sounds good. Why don't you kick us off and I'll fill in.
Okay, well, I was just going to tell you a little bit about Malin. Some of you know that it's a made up word. It's 3 counties we serve: Mitchell, Avery, and Yancey. So we could have been Amy Land, we could have been Yam Land, but we're Mayland, and like a lot of rural areas, we're struggling with the demographics of declining school age population, and that's made retention critical for us. And over 50% of our students are duly enrolled in one of the 4 high schools that we serve, which includes the early college that's on our campus. Historically, we've also served a significant part of prison population. There are 2 state prisons, literally 2 miles down the road from the campus. And so the pandemic really wiped us out in a lot of ways because the prisons were understaffed and they weren't allowing instruction. And at the same time, the rest of the country found out that they could work remotely and they wanted to move into the area, and they were scooping up housing and land, making it even harder for families with children to come to this area. So we were just coming out of that slump last year, and we were hit with a 1,000-year flood that resulted from Helene, and that changed everything. It was
Yeah.
everything became a distraction for what we were really trying to work on. And it was just last summer, we were kind of looking for a more normal fall when the passage of Leon's Law came out, and Dr. Anderson and Liz were talking about it at a conference this summer. And we knew that we had to start working on that. And although I've been working with Liz and Steph for years on IntelliBoard and doing mostly missing learner submissions so that I could help with retention that way, I was reluctant to train liaisons and advisors and faculty because we also had in the works a Title III grant that was centered around watermark. So in the meantime, we're also trying to meet the new ADA guidelines, training for AI in classes, trying to get more OER textbooks and courses to limit cost, trying to limit the course size of files. There just wasn't time to train on everything. And so after the flood, the word watermark took on kind of new connotations. For us, it wasn't just a word anymore. We realized we weren't going to be able to wait for watermark to get fully implemented here to meet our obligations for Leon's Law. And that's when we reached out to IntelliBoard, and they're just so good to help, especially with the weekly online office hours. It was a good way to share new information and insights. I tried to go to all of them that I could. Always picked up little nuggets and said, oh, wow, I never saw it from that angle. I didn't see that's what we would need to be ready for. And IntelliBoard also helped our IE folks and our IT folks work together to get the necessary modules for Informer 4 so they could connect to an SFTP server. And then IntelliBoard was very generous to provide a SFTP server for us to use because we didn't have one. And it would be even longer time before we could get that up and running. Well, the data's flowing now, and we're ready for our first parental request, which hasn't come yet. But Malin's secret sauce has always been extremely high touch wrapped around the high tech.
Yeah.
Always been very good to take care of our students and each other at Malin. And we plan to go slow until we know all of our LMS grade books are accurately reporting what the status of the student is. A little bit what we talked about, Brian was talking about. And I think as we become more confident of that and we fix the problems that are there, then we can do more automated. But I think in the short term, we'll be looking at doing some high tech and high touch with it. And we couldn't have done any of that without IntelliBoard taking real good care of us as partners. And we appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just I'll piggyback on that a little bit. John does an amazing job. He and his team, they do just amazing work at the college. So I so appreciate it from my viewpoint. But yeah, going to a conference and running into Liz and talking about Leon's Law hadn't fell into place yet, but we knew it was probably coming. I think John learned, don't let me go to conferences because, you know, there a lot of ideas start flowing. I start texting and emailing saying, John, you know, IntelliBoard could do this. Hey, Liz says, hey. And so we start getting things flowing, and he might have some you know, he might have a sidebar conversation about how that went down, but it seemed to go pretty well. And you know, and so we started digging in areas that we otherwise probably wouldn't have had a chance to. I mean, in all honesty, you know, we're a small college. John wears 15 hats, and he does an amazing job keeping all the plates spinning. And I know we usually all have a lot of jobs, and so when we're forced to dig in, sometimes we start discovering, you know, that there's some pretty cool things that can happen when our hand is forced. And so, you know, we were as we started talking about not just the potential of Leon's Law, but a lot of other areas too, census dates and other ways to do early alerts. You know, then all of a sudden, you know, we start thinking about how can we take data, how can we get it to our stakeholders and to our decision makers, making, you know, data informed decisions, right? I mean, no garbage in, garbage out, but how can we get meaningful data to making decisions that make a difference in our students' lives? And so we've started down this track, not just about Leon's Law, even though that's been our main focus so far, but in making sure that we get data flow into folks so that they have leading data, or as close as we can have to leading data instead of lagging data, because we all know we get a lot of times data when it's too late, as Brian had indicated as well. And so we want things that lead and help us make decisions in a proactive way. So again, I appreciate the functionality and things that have been brought to light through IntelliBoard and John and his team's effort. And I'm excited. I just can't wait to see what's next and down the road.
Oh my gosh, you guys are a delight. All right. So that actually, thank you, everybody. So I think a huge part of what is really resonating for all of us is that too often it is often tricky to see what learner activity is telling us, especially in an online asynchronous environment. It feels a little bit disjointed for everyone. And when engagement metrics go ignored, early signs of struggle are missed. And that silence quickly turns into disconnection and stagnation and facts. Like, as an adult in my mid-20s, I signed up for online graduate classes, and I very quickly became disengaged. And you know, I did fine, but a little bit of outreach early on would have changed my experience there. Without timely visibility into participation and progress, we are losing the opportunity to intervene quickly before there's a real problem. As early as possible, as often as possible, they need to know there's a human on the other side of that computer, so we can support them instead of letting them slip away and ultimately withdraw. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of context into some of the specific tools we've been talking about in this conversation. So the main name of that attendance report that Forsyth was mentioning, Durham was mentioning, is learner activity completion. And it was built with direct input from the system to help streamline attendance taking. Every week, instructors need to mark whether or not a student is present. We're pulling in native tools to the LMS. We are pulling in third-party material, and we're kind of handing that to the instructor, the people who deeply know their teaching and learning environment, so they can then quickly and intentionally get the paperwork admin side done. And if there's anything concerning, they can intervene quickly as well. And it was very intentionally set up to mimic that school's instructor self-service portal for colleague. That is a very easy thing to personalize, and it makes a big difference, especially when we're thinking something at scale, every instructor, every week, a tool being used by everyone. A very common dashboard used across the system is the instructor behavior dashboard. The point is transparency. between instructors and the teams at the college who support them. This in turn needs to come full circle, leading to policy, process change, and support. One of the results of a lot of these conversations is a brand new data set specifically to help see where the pain points are related to grading. It is a theme that comes up all the time. The point, the purpose is let everybody see where the pain points and gaps are so that everyone is supported, whether it's training, redistributing workload, whatever is needed. We're helping y'all see what the story here is so you can interpret the context and have important conversations to help people. Because at the end of the day, what we need to do is empower everybody so we all see what the current state of the students are. So advisors and the students themselves have a clear picture of what's going on. Kind of last little bit from me before we go back to hearing from the stars of the show here. Another very commonly used data set is the RSI dashboard. It was specifically built with RSI in mind, but what we're really trying to do is think about how to pull apart the many different ways courses are built, teachers teach, and things are facilitated. Somebody who is very active and powerful in discussions because it's a philosophy class will absolutely look different than a self-paced math course. That doesn't mean bad, it just means different. And we need to think about how to take this context and this story and understand what to do with it. Our role is to empower everyone to see what is normal so we can celebrate and support as needed. So to work on wrapping us up a little bit, in this next section, we're going to look at how bringing data together from siloed systems like the LMS and the SIS can transform how advisors support students. When these systems talk to each other, advisors can quickly identify students at risk, take action sooner, and streamline communication and documentation with their high school partners. This is important for everyone. But I think Leon's law and the requirement of the dual enrolled and the CCP groups, it really made this a critical conversation for all of us. Because in this case, we need to consider the best way to send really important in-term, constantly evolving information to external stakeholders like high school partners and sometimes other people as well. So Clark, I'll call on you here quick. The first team of advisors we've onboarded is your CCP advisors. Can you speak to their feedback so far and how it will change their workload?
Yeah, so the first team, like Liz just said, the CCP team, we're getting them set up first because they have an immediate need for these reports and alerts more than anyone else. We have other advisors in, we call it the Patriot Hub. We've got lots of advisors there. We also have faculty advisors that will need access to this, but the CCP team is number one because they use it, what we have in Watermark on a daily basis, and they are critical to have this set up for them as fast as we can. So we've got the CCP dashboard for them, which contains the grade report and that first submission report in one place. And their feedback so far, so we've got 4 team members that are using it, and they do like it so far. They like how it's career college promise. So the CCP, they like how it's set up where both reports are in the one dashboard. So they go in there, they can scroll up and down. They also have lots of filters that they can use inside of those reports and we've got it set up where there's lots of different fields in there. And if they need all of that, they'll have access to it, but they can also hide those fields that they may not need and export that data as CSV files. So, and Liz wrote up some nice instructions at the top of that dashboard. Yeah, some nice instructions that they can look at on how to do those things. And so when they go in there, they'll see that and they can use those tools to export the data. Now, I'm not going to say they've also ran into a couple things that are, it's not perfect, but we're working on it. They are maybe missing a couple things, or a couple of the students that they should be seeing are not there, but we're working together with the IntelliBoard help desk, me and Liz, to find out what's causing that, and we're working through it. They've been very responsive, so it's been going great so far, and CCP likes it, and they're looking forward to being able to use that.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Clark. Athena, I know the CCP team at Catawba, they're actually one of our first groups, if I remember right. They've been using them for almost 2 years, I think, at this point. I know this is really more firmly like Christy's lane, but can you speak to their experience and how the visibility there helps them do what they need to do, which is supporting students?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit more about us. So CCP is actually 40% of our enrollment. We serve both Catawba and Alexander County, which is about 10 high schools. We have 2 early colleges. We also do the prison, and we also have athletics. So we have a little bit of everything. And we were already well on our way with doing CCP because once we solved the problem of census, I was like, we got to solve this other problem, which is not really a problem, but previously, so we have a scholar advisor that's assigned to every high school, and they primarily are out there at those high schools. And so, you know, what their job is kind of to be the liaison between us and that high school, which includes checking out student progress and being able to speak to that to college or to high school counselors and things like that. And so previously, before we started using IntelliBoard, we had created, well before, these people then had, these scholar advisors had to email the faculty and ask them to tell them how certain students were doing, which of course is arduous and not particularly effective, because if the email doesn't get replied to, then that creates additional problems. So then after that, to try to help resolve the problem or make it more efficient, we created a Microsoft form. And so then we would send that out and have the faculty fill that out and tell us how the students were doing. But again, it's not 100%. So we still wouldn't always get all the results that we wanted. So in my effort to make things more efficient, because I'm all about process and efficiency, in my effort to do that, we got with Liz and set up our SFTP, because that was really critical to being able to, we needed IntelliBoard. It already has the great information from Blackboard, but I needed IntelliBoard to know who's a CCP student. So in order to tell IntelliBoard who's a CCP student, we have to get that from colleague. So much the same way, we're doing IntelliBoard, not IntelliBoard, Informa reports, just a few words. Informa
and they're very
reports,
similar to be
yes, that export, and then we SFTP them so that then our scholar advisors and our CCP team all have access to their own personal dashboard, which is very similar to what everyone else has noticed. So it has the first date of attendance. We also, for financial aid purposes, which is not as significant for CCP population, but we also have a last date of attendance. It's basically the last time they did something, because this is significant for financial aid. So I can't even tell you how many times, actually every single time financial aid needed an answer to that question, they would email me, and I have to go look at Blackboard and see when the last time somebody did something. I haven't done that in over a year. So I'll take that. Also, so with our CCP reports now, we're not automated. So this came alongside a little bit the Leon's Law stuff. And so of course my first stop was Liz, like, hey, we're already doing this basically.
Yeah.
We just need a
We
couple
were
more
like
things.
80% there.
Yeah, I was like, I just need like 2 or 3 more things from colleague, and we're like already there. So
Yeah.
can we just like tuck on a couple more columns and call it a
Mhm.
day,
That's
which is
basically
essentially
did.
what we've done.
Yeah.
And I did create a Microsoft form, which is what we're doing until the application, CFNC application has that option, which I think it does now. So, but that's how we got them to give the disclosure and fill out that form. But beyond that, our CCP folks all have access to this dashboard. And so now they just look at it themselves. They can look in real time and see how students are doing. And we've only had 1 or 2 parents reach out about Leon's Law. But the beautiful thing is they don't have to ask me how the students are doing because they just log into IntelliBoard and see it for themselves. So that's taken me, I mean, we're trying to take the middle people out,
Yeah.
middleman, but middle people
Yeah.
out. And so I don't have to be the middle person for that because the data is already in their hands.
Yeah.
And so it's much more useful. I know we're almost out of time, but the last thing I wanted to mention is we also have a SACS report that we're doing for a common assessment. And so here's something else that's really important. If you don't know this, if you're trying to get data about a common assessment, you can't rename the assignment. This is actually how we failed initially, failed up because we learned, but about doing the census, because we initially tried to do it on our common EVA. That doesn't work because then people want to rename it to do this first. And anyway, that didn't work out too well, but SACS reporting, we're going to do some of that, common assessment, pull all that data together. I couldn't be a bigger fan of IntelliBoard if I worked there. So I'm happy to answer questions too, if anybody has any.
Oh, thank you. And we love you. We love you, Athena. And also just facts. Skataba, we're starting like the first faculty facing iteration of the SACS reporting this spring. So we are all very excited for everyone because this is very important for everyone.
Basically, it's I think Marissa was the one that said she comes and always asks Liz if we can do this. Basically, I walk around campus and people say, do you think we can do blah 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 with blah 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 data? And I was like, I'm confident we can. I'll ask Liz.
Yeah.
And then she has to say, now Athena, maybe not. But actually she's never said that, but still.
Oh gosh. Well, to work on wrapping us up here real quick. So a big tool we're all talking about, even if we're not mentioning its name, is the Learner Success Dashboard. So we're leveraging it for dual enrollment, CCP, advising. We're also handing it over to academic leadership, instructors, anywhere we need to center the student and pull out the most critical data for everyone who needs to support them. It is a beautiful, beautiful workhorse. Teachers see their students in their courses, deans and chairs see their students in their division. So kind of the classic, a funny email comes in, there's an awkward meeting to prepare for, can quickly look up a student, a class, everybody taught by a person, and just see high level what is going on. A little bit of context to prepare you to learn more. And each high school that we're talking about when these dual enrolled programs receives the data about their students, not anybody else's. And we can easily leverage that to support access for parents and guardians as well. As mentioned a couple of times, we do often need data that does not live in the teaching and learning environment. What we're typically doing is making a report from your SIS. In the case of the North Carolina system, we're usually making a report in a tool called Informer to pull data out of Colleague. We send it to an SFTP, and then we drop that critical information in the hands of the people who need it. A common thing we're bringing in is their high school, if they're a minor, and then some parent information, kind of as needed. So we've had some amazing conversations. to work on wrapping us up. We're having conversations about metrics. We're talking about priorities, goals, communication, and aligning us all together, because connected data simplifies compliance. We are empowering people for proactive support, supporting our students, supporting our people, and supporting our communities. And we are using analytics to unify colleges around all of our shared goals. Because what we need to do is make North Carolina's community colleges even stronger for every student in every classroom. Thank you. And Gretchen, I'll grab you later. But thank you, everybody. So I do know we are running over, but if anybody has any last minute questions, thoughts, we're glad to have them. Athena, thank you for dropping in your information in the chat. You are an advocate as always. I love getting to see everybody. This is really, really great. And we will see everybody again soon.